Good morning, Fairfax County, and happy almost Election Day. We've got a big election here tomorrow, November 7th, when we are going to be one of two states in the country with a statewide election. And we actually, let's start. We have Cameron Sasnett, our General Registrar here, and I'm Lisa Connors from the Office of Public Affairs. We had, and I hope this means that we're going to have a big turnout tomorrow, but we had almost 5,000 voters here and at our satellite locations absentee voting just on Saturday, which was our last day of absentee voting, and we still have a lot of mail-in ballots that are out and coming in. Can you talk about some of the numbers, what we're seeing with our absentee, and then we'll go into what to expect on Election Day?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, Lisa, this past Saturday was our last day for in-person absentee voting. It was one of our biggest days for a gubernatorial election. But more importantly, at the end of the day, we tabulated that we were just shy of 30,000 voters who had voted in person absentee, which is a record for us. Even going back, it's not even close in comparison to 2013 and 2009. Right. As you mentioned, we've also seen a lot of activity for voters who have requested absentee ballots by mail. And we've seen a good number of those come back, and those have been voted already. So we're roughly in the neighborhood with returned mail as well as our absentee voters who have actually voted in person. Around 50,000 people who voted in this election so far, just in Fairfax County alone.
Right.
So, you know, we fully expect that Election Day is going to be a really busy day. But you know, one of the things we're cognizant about is maybe folks have kind of taken advantage of the absentee voting prior to. But either way, we're still going to be prepared for a big turnout.
Great. So, and I've heard this from a couple of people too. So, if I got my mail-in ballot and I'm a procrastinator and I still have my ballot, and we know it has to be received in this office before 7 p.m. tomorrow, what should I do?
So, there are a couple options for you. Okay. If you had requested an absentee ballot and you have it at home,
right.
You can vote that absentee ballot and you can deliver it here before 7 p.m. on Election Day. We can take that and we can process that. Now, if you can't make it here to the government center, to my office, then what you can do is you can actually take that ballot into your polling place and surrender that ballot for a regular ballot. Now, I highly recommend, if you don't deliver it here, right, you take it with you to your polling place, because there's going to be a little bit of extra paperwork, including what might be offered as a provisional ballot. And those are subject to some review after the election, and we have to do a little bit more paperwork, and it's ultimately going to wind up clogging up folks and getting in and out of the polling place.
Great, great. Okay, so all of you who still have your mail-in ballots, if you can, please bring them by today and tomorrow before 7 p.m. tomorrow, and make sure that your ballot is counted. Yep. All right, so let's go over. Tomorrow is Election Day.
Yep.
And our polls are open beginning at 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. And what should people know? I'm ready to head out the door. I'm excited to go vote. What do I need to do first?
So the first thing is that you have to go and vote where you are assigned and registered to vote.
Right.
So we actually did a sample ballot mailer to every registered voter. Of course, this was a little bit before the final close of books, so some voters may not have gotten these sample ballots. But it does say where their voting location is and what their actual residence address is. And we encourage folks to bring this with them on Election Day, because it's going to tell them where they need to go, what they can do, more importantly, what's going to be on their ballot.
Right.
But I can't stress enough, you know, we have 243 polling places. And those signs, those Vote Here signs, you'll see them everywhere tomorrow.
Right.
And please don't pull in to just the closest Vote Here sign, because we may not be able to accept your ballot if you just voted anywhere except for the location that you're registered at. Now, what's great is that if you didn't get one of these, or if you're not sure where your actual voting location is, or if you're even registered, you can go to vote.virginia.gov, and you can actually find out if you're registered, what your polling place is, even what's on your ballot. Or you can find some of that stuff out on our website at fairfaxcounty.gov/elections.
Also, if you have any questions about voting tomorrow, and it's a very specific question, you can also call, and do it today, folks, if you can, not tomorrow. It's going to be a little busier, but if you can call 703-222-0776. If you have questions, it'll be a little quieter today than it will be tomorrow. And now is the time to ask those questions. You can also send your questions via email to voting@fairfaxcounty.gov.
Yep, and that's our main email address, and we keep an eye on that throughout the day today, the evening tonight, and then all day tomorrow, and of course after the election. Now, Lisa, one of the things I want to go back to as we were talking about being prepared for tomorrow.
Right.
And this is something we highly encourage all of our voters, is that everybody try and vote as early in the morning as possible. We go back to 2008 when we had that snowstorm set in the middle of the afternoon. We don't know what the weather's going to do.
Right.
And ultimately, when you start the day trying to engage in that process, if there is something going on that may not allow you to go all the way through, it gives us a little bit more opportunity to get you to the right place and the right resources.
Right.
So, also, the schools are closed.
Yes.
And which is great for us because it's more access to parking, but keep in mind that it is a teacher workday.
Right.
So the teachers will be taking up a few parking spaces during the course of the middle of the day. So, 6 a.m., most teachers aren't in on a teacher workday.
Right.
So glad they get an opportunity to rest up and take advantage of that teacher workday. But I think voters can take advantage of them not being in the parking lot at 6 a.m. to whenever they're going to be.
Okay, great. But if you do, for some reason, you can't vote early, keep in mind if you're planning on voting after work, to make sure you have to be in line before 7 p.m. If you're in line at 7 p.m., you'll be able to vote, but the polls do close at 7 p.m. Another thing, probably the most important thing, is what's on the ballot for tomorrow.
Yeah, so, as you mentioned, we're one of the only 2 states with statewide elections. Of course,
Right.
My colleagues all around the country are having municipal elections, smaller elections.
Right.
But, for Virginia and New Jersey, we are the only 2 states that elect governors the year after the presidential election.
Right.
So we'll be electing our governor, our lieutenant governor, and our next attorney general.
Right.
And so in addition to that, the members of the House of Delegates, all 100 members, will be up for re-election. So voters will have an opportunity to vote on those. And more locally, we have the $315 million school bond referendum question.
Right.
And,
Right.
I got to stress, it's really important when you go in an election day and you get your ballot, take a look at both sides.
Right.
The bond referendums have a lot of words, so we put those on the back. So you will have a 2-sided ballot. Make sure you vote on all your issues if you can. So.
Okay, great. And if you can also, please review what's on your ballot before you come into your voting location. It'll just go a lot faster. And all that information is on fairfaxcounty.gov/elections. You can find your sample ballot there. And also, if you still have this handy flyer available, take a look at that, and that will have all your choices. You can review the bond referendum and also your other choices for tomorrow. So we know our poll location, we know what's on the ballot, and we need to bring something else with us when we go to vote.
Probably one of the most important things since 2014 is a valid photo ID.
Right.
Now, this can be a Virginia-issued driver's license. It can be a United States passport. It can be a military ID, a dependent ID from the United States military. It could be an ID issued by a school in Virginia.
Right.
And there's a number of other IDs that are acceptable that fall into slightly different categories. At the end of the day, we highly encourage everybody, if they have an ID, make sure they bring it with them. It's also important that that ID not be expired by more than a year. So check it out before you go. If that ID is expired by more than a year, if for some reason at 5 o'clock today you wind up losing your purse or your wallet or something like that, you don't have an ID, it's okay. You can still participate. There's a couple options that we can do.
Right.
You can come to our office before you go to your polling place and we'll print you a Virginia voter photo ID. Or you can go to your polling place and cast an ID-only provisional ballot and then come to our office after the election and we'll print you a Virginia voter photo ID, which will be allowed to accept for your provisional ballot. So there's a few options. So again, like I said, you lose your wallet, you lose your purse tonight, don't worry. You still get a chance to participate. Even if your ID, you have it and it's expired by more than a year, we still have it available in our office here so that we can get you those IDs.
Great, great. So the most important thing after all is said and done is people are going to be interested in what the results are. We are the largest jurisdiction in the state. We have 243 precincts. Everybody's going to be looking for our numbers. Where can we find our results?
So let me just step back just
Okay.
a little bit. Remember, we technically have 244 precincts.
Because we have that.
Because all the absentee votes are counted on election night, which is often
Right.
a myth that
Right.
folks aren't clear about. But we do count every single ballot that's received in this office on election night. So that 244th precinct, as we mentioned about the 50,000 or so votes that have been counted, that's one precinct.
Right.
That is a lot of votes to go over, tabulate, and make sure that we put in there. So it takes us a little bit of time. In addition, we got to get all the phone calls from the other 243. But we have a great system in place so that we can put it to the county's website,
Yes.
which is fairfaxcounty.gov/elections. Now, what's really important is that will be just for the Fairfax County portion of all the races.
Exactly.
You'll have to go to vote.virginia.gov to see what the greater total is of all the races and how they combine together for governor, lieutenant governor, and even some of the delegate districts that we share with other jurisdictions.
Okay, great. We'll also be providing information on our through our Twitter account, which is at Fairfax Votes, as well as at Fairfax County tomorrow. And we ask that you check in with our webpage at fairfaxcounty.gov/elections. Go to vote.virginia.gov, or if you have any questions today or tomorrow, you can always call 703-222-0776 or send an email to voting@fairfaxcounty.gov. The most important thing, folks, is that there have been thousands of election officers that have been going through training, hours and hours of training, lots of staff here who are out there to make sure that you have a fast and efficient voting experience to answer any of your questions. But it's really up to you all to go out and vote, and that's what tomorrow's about.
Yeah, and we're really looking forward. I know the weather's not supposed to be that great, but it's also not supposed to be that terrible either. So no real excuse. You guys have been seeing the commercials all over the place for all the candidates. One more day, and you guys show up in your polling place, cast your ballot, and I guarantee you by 7 o'clock tomorrow in the evening, it'll all be done, and hopefully we'll know who the next governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and all of our House Delegate members, and whether or not we're going to authorize a $315 million school bond.
Right, great. So thank you very much for joining us, and we'll be back tomorrow with some updates on how Election Day is going here in Fairfax County. Thanks for joining us.